Well, the battle over Boston's 2024 Olympic bid has been the biggest story in town for months. And as it plays out in the media, some of the juiciest details are coming from an unusual source. Adam has more.
It was a great get for the Boston Business Journal, a scoop detailing just how closely Boston 2024 is working with Mayor Marty Walsh. But the emails cited weren't originally obtained by the BBJ. Instead, they were dug up by this guy.
We told the BBJ that we'd be willing to hold those before making them public for a few days to give them time to publish their piece.
Jonathan Cohn is a co-founder of No Boston 2024, which staunchly opposes the Olympics bid. Over the past several months, he's used the website Muckrock to file a dizzying array of public records requests.
So I have the one on Joe World, which is the first one I submitted, which was about March 17th or March 19th. Then the one on the BRA that I submitted about a week later. Then I submitted the one on Northbrand on Dan Coe.
Once Cohn gets the goods, he and his No Boston 2024 compatriots work with traditional media to get the story out.
We like working with media outlets because we think that the documents will get more attention that way.
That's been a boon to the BBJ and to Boston Magazine, both of which fit Cohn's criteria.
When working with reporters, we wanted to choose people who do show a history of healthy skepticism, people that we would trust to write up the documents well.
For the record, Cohn says No Boston 2024 has yet to say no to a journalist who wants to collaborate. So if you're a reporter looking for an Olympic scoop,
I have ones right now, one on Joyce Linehan, the mayor's policy director, one on David Sweeney, the CFO treasurer for the city.
You might want to give him a call.
I don't know. I have mixed feelings about this. You know, clearly he has an agenda. He's an activist.
Sure.
But these FOIA requests, these Freedom of Information Act requests, have been legitimately vetted. It's the real deal. It's not like he's making up the emails or editing them in some way. But as long as whoever, the BBJ or the Boston Globe, whoever who takes the material discloses where they got it and makes it clear that he's got an agenda, I think that it's fine.
I totally agree with you. And in a way, this is just a more transparent version of what the media has been doing for a long time. You have a source that is knowledgeable about a particular topic that gives you information that fits their agenda. The difference is that ordinarily we tend not to disclose those. We give a vague description of who it is. A State House insider says such and such. Like you said, this information is all verifiable. None of it has proven to be bad, and they're very upfront. You can either read it in the BBJ or you can go on Muckrock and you can read the documents there yourself, see if they stack up to what the BBJ's reported. So I think it's a really ingenious use of information by activists who are sort of, in a way, making sure that the info they want out there gets the widest possible.
Do they make any money off of this?
No, I don't believe so. I mean, in fact, they use Muckrock. One of the things you can do with that site, it makes it very easy to file a FOIA. You can also crowdfund. So if City Hall comes back and says, okay, that's going to be $500, well, people can kick in that money. Dante wants to get in here.
No, I think what Adam's saying about the crowdsourcing aspect of it, that's a really important point. First of all, I don't have a problem with this. Talking to people from various angles who've thought more about an issue is journalism 101, it seems to me. Most reporters just don't have the time to follow everything, and you rely on sources like that. But on the crowdfunding front, one important function that newspapers and TV stations and news organizations have fulfilled is filing public records requests, suing for documents if need be. There are, obviously in the contraction in the media business, there are things that have to be prioritized, and if there are things that the public wants that aren't coming out of traditional media, then crowdsourcing is actually an ingenious way of getting at it.
Yeah, I have no problem with this either. One thing I would point out is that this isn't completely novel. When the New York Times was doing some of its toughest reporting on the excesses of the Bush administration's national security policies, most of those stories were based on FOIA requests made by the ACLU. And the Times was pretty much working with the ACLU on getting that information out, which they fully disclosed. The one thing that I think that we need to be wary of here is that when you have public records that are being produced by an advocacy group, you kind of look at the records and say, okay, if I were doing this from scratch as a fair, neutral reporter, are these the only records I'd be looking for? Are there other records I'd be looking for? I hope that test is being made.
Exactly.
But other than that, I think it's fine.
They're the ones that they think will prove their point.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
Well, that was, let me echo that, because that was my concern, is that how are they aggregating the information because, you know, it comes from where it comes from. Once you have gone through the FOIA request, I don't see any problem with that. But it's incumbent upon us, those of us who receive the material, to then look for any hints of potential bias, even understanding their agenda. And if we know that up front, then, you know, let's have at it. Let's put it out here and do a story on it that lets people know what's happening.
For what it's worth, my understanding is that if No Boston 2024 and Jonathan Cohn, for example, file a public records request for correspondence between City Hall and Northwind Strategies, the Doug Rubin PR shop, which is running communications for Boston 2024, as I understand it, they take all the documents they receive and they will, if they've decided they're going to work with Boston Magazine, they give that reporter all the material they have. They do not ask for the right to review what's being written prior to publication. They do not say, here are the documents that we think are most important. They just have a reporter who they trust and they say, here's what we got, work with it.
Do you know anything about Muckrock? I mean, what's the backstory?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's Michael Morrissey, who actually has had relationships with the Globe. For a while, he was working for the Globe. They are just kind of a two-person shop that dedicates themselves to digging out public records, and they kind of serve as a clearinghouse for people. It's a terrific project.
And they want people to do this kind of work. I mean, they want to both make it easy to file these requests, and then they want to make sure that as many outlets as possible cover them. You saw on the
And they are
screen
not
grab,
an advocacy group.
Right, right. And the
They
screen
are
grab
too.
that we used,
No, they're not.
I mean,
They're
you can
not.
just click on a button that says file a FOIA, and you're off
Really?
and running. Yep.
We're going to get on that.